From the News Channel 5 Network and Out and About newspaper, this is Out and About Today.
Welcome to Out and About Today. I'm Brent Meredith. On tonight's show, Chuck Long talks with former Christian music artist Jennifer Knapp about coming out, rumors, and her new memoir, Facing the Music. But first, let's kick off things with our weekly Buzz About. I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts Pam Wheeler and Chuck Long, and by Out and About Nashville editor James Grady. Welcome back, James. Good to see you guys.
Great to see you.
You ready to talk about some stuff?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So the first thing tonight, and this is kind of on the heels of the beating of the gay couple in Philly, and they've been working on passing some legislation. So a Pennsylvania senator, casually, if you will, comes out after he sponsored this bill. So he basically said, I wanted to make sure I get this right. Hundreds of people know I'm gay. I just never made it an official declaration, he said. I never felt I had to go wear a billboard on my forehead, but I'm gay. Get over it. I love it. It's a great life.
Right.
So, but those words were uttered, at the state capitol. What do you think about that? Was it an appropriate time for him to come out at the sponsorship of this bill? Do you think it'll help, hurt? James, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I don't know. I think that I think it's great that he came out in such a casual fashion. I think it says a lot. I also think that it may risk compromising his authority when speaking on the bill, because people who are anti-gay will look at that and say this is a special agenda.
Yeah, and that's a fair criticism. I do believe he's about to go out of office, so he probably felt a little more bold. I would probably do the same if I were going to do something like that. What do you think, Pam?
Yeah, that just makes me mad to think about not an appropriate time, because good for you. You're speaking at something that's true. It's your life. Kapow. I'm so glad he did it. And I also had the thought, looking at the video and thinking about how many people out there, maybe they haven't told hundreds of people, because, he's a public figure, but they've told 10 or 20 or 30 that know, but not everybody knows. And that's all of our stories at one time. And so I love those stories.
Well, I don't know if did you happen to notice, Chuck, I was watching the faces of the people standing around him, and there was a couple of people with him that it was just interesting to see their reactions, because obviously they probably had to know, but the way he was saying and what he was saying, don't fight that feeling, he said is a common phrase in our community. It was just an interesting juxtaposition of politics and his personal life.
And I thought it was nice, because those people that were kind of surrounding him, it was just like, yep, that's exactly right.
Right.
And I just like that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. This is interesting. I ran across this online, and this is they called it the Great Gay Facebook Exodus Begins, and we have a little image of the site here the art that they used for it. But apparently there has been sort of an avalanche of folks moving away from Facebook based on their naming situation. So essentially you have to use your sort of legal name, if you will. And I think there was a group of Radical Fairies. There were some other folks who were wanting to use the site as their sort of alter egos.
And drag queens?
Yeah. So of course, sort of causing another rift for our community in the sense that maybe somebody can't be out online, or can't be out in person, but they can be online. And so sort of this mass exodus to this other site, whose name is escaping me. Where is it here?
Ello.
Yeah, Ello. Thank you, James. But what do you guys think about that? Just the overall situation in general, not so much moving to this other site, which I did check. You do have to you have to request to be a member. But just making it a legal issue, your name. Has Facebook kind of gotten past the point of being good to us? Pam, you look a little...
I don't know. I didn't read it with such passion as maybe you all did, and a lot of other people when I read the comments, how it's something true to them. I'm using my real name, and it just didn't even occur to me that drag queens and others want to use, that's how they connect with folks. So I guess that bothers me. Did I read, and it might have been an Onion site or something, that we're going to start getting charged for Facebook? Is that true or false?
Are you quoting the Onion?
We're in trouble there.
Where am I? No, is that true?
That is a myth that's going around. I think it started by people who are anti-Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well then, so I was going to get on that bandwagon and be really mad. But I guess I understand it from a business point. And when I did read that article, and the other site, they don't require you to do that right now.
Sure.
But Facebook,
well,
how many years in are we
and it's grown to such a size. There's legal ramifications. I get why they might do it, but I don't know. It's leaving a lot of people behind that use that as a networking device. And
it certainly does. But I will say too, to me, a lot of times when you get on certain comments about, and not Facebook, but just people blogging and that sort of thing, and when they don't have to use their real name, to me, they're just hiding behind that anonymity. And just, to me, that's just cowardly.
I think you're exactly right. And I think, if I may say this, we're sort of the exception to the rule of why they're doing it. I don't think they're doing it to be mean-spirited toward our community, but at the same time, we suffer.
You're right.
Yeah,
I would agree.
That's a good point.
Anyway, so this is also interesting. We got another political story here. I found this quite interesting. So we've talked about PrEP and Truvada on here here before. We've had a
Yeah.
couple guests talking about it. So the first politician comes out of the PrEP closet. Scott Weiner publicly announced his use of the antiviral drug Truvada. Recently, he's a San Francisco city councilman. In a statement he made, he said, after consulting with my physician, I went on PrEP to further protect and take personal responsibility for my health. I am negative, and I want to remain that way. There's a picture of him right now. So, was it necessary to come out and say this? Is it necessary to even be talking about this as a politician? You're shaking your head, James. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, I think that, people are still deciding whether they're for or against, and I think that it's important to forward the discussion that people in public life initiate that.
Yeah, yeah.
I can agree with that. Again, it's a topic that I don't know if I'm for or against. I know we've talked about it on the show and had guests who were very excited about this. Are you all, like, as a panel here, are you guys for or against this PrEP?
Well, go ahead, Chuck. No, go ahead.
I think it's scary if people are using this instead of condoms. I mean,
Yeah.
just to
And
be
the numbers
very
in
honest.
that article
Right.
said yes.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
one out
and
of-
did
what
you
was
know?
it?
Yeah, 1 out of 6, only 1 in 6 men use condoms 100% of the time.
Yeah.
To me, unless you're in a long-term relationship, I'm sorry, I just
No,
think
I
that's
agree, and I think
crazy.
that's part of the issue. And then, of course, the point that he tries to make is that people are already not using them anyway. So
Right.
this may be something that could at least help prevent it in that regard. It's also something that people may choose to do, much like birth control. Just because you're on birth control doesn't mean that you're out trying to get pregnant.
Right.
So I mean,
Right.
it's just another tool in the toolbox to prevent the spread of the infection. So
Right.
the negative stigma around it seems a little pointed, I think.
And I think
Yeah,
if
I-
only 1 in 6 are already using condoms anyway, the risks of reduction in condom use versus the decreased risk in HIV transmission, I think it's in favor of Truvada.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting Venn diagram. I think we would have a nice overlap there. So
Yeah.
anyway, but I find that to be very interesting, and I love tracking the progress of it because it's been around now for several years.
Right.
And it's an expensive drug to be on as well, so that creates a whole other level of who can qualify, who can get it. Anyway, thanks for your insight on it. Oh, yeah.
Did you notice too? I thought it was interesting that Larry Kramer, of course, who wrote The Normal Heart,
Yeah.
has been a huge AIDS activist
Yeah.
for years. He says anybody who voluntarily takes an antiviral every day has got to have rocks in their heads. He is really
No, I thought that was a pretty emphatic
because he's
quote.
very outspoken about it.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely a lot of opinions on
Yeah.
both sides of the fence. But when we come back, we'll have more buzz about, so stay with us.